Our winter veggies crop coming along, not looking too bad. Interestingly enough, it's 21 degrees in the barn today. That's the hottest it's been for a long time. We've been having 11, 12, maybe 13 degrees if we're lucky. So I'm now feeding the plants 5 times a day because with the extra warmth and heat, they'll be able to handle some extra nutrient. They're looking pretty good actually, considering how small they've been up until this point in time. But they're certainly putting some growth on now. And I think in a week or so's time, with the extra warmth that's here now, we'll see some pretty substantial growth. I hope so, because they're a bit late on where they're supposed to be. You might remember that the first batch of seeds we put down this year failed to germinate, so these plants are 6 weeks smaller than the plants were at the same time last year. This video was shot a week after the last episode went up, episode number 1. I've been working on the cauliflowers again this morning. Heavy wind lately has pushed some of them over, so they've all now been restaked and tied up. And I've just had a feed. That's a nutrient you can hear running back into the reservoir. The plants are looking all right now. The first cauliflower flowers have actually started to appear. I'll take an individual photo of that and put it up to show you. They're still very small, but they are there. You can see I've got a piece of bamboo there with some black cloth tied round it, supporting the plant. So I'm still hoping to get a reasonable crop of cauliflowers this year, even though they were planted later than usual. But they're coming along and looking all right. These are our winter caulis that you've been watching for a period of time now, seeing how they grow. They're finally getting a bit of a move on. The temperature's warmed up. It's 24.1 at the moment. It's been 16, 15 and 14 for far too long now, so the plants are finally getting a bit of growth about them. They're currently getting fed 5 times a day. Keep the nutrient level up to them. However, I'm making some modifications to the barn. As you can see here, there's some new superstructure going up there. We discovered from the council that our barn is 0.25 of a square metre too large to have a non-permeable roof on. So what I'm doing is I'm removing 2 feet of the length of the barn, and we can then keep the roof on, which is pretty important so we can work in here if it's raining, etc, etc. You'll notice a power cable over there so that the pump is not connected at this point of time. So what I'm doing is I'm having to hand water, which isn't a problem. It just takes some time. I'm using this jug for the hand watering and pouring a litre of nutrient into each of the plants one at a time as I go along. And I'd work my way up the row to the next one, and you can see how big the plants are becoming. And down in here you can see one of the cauliflowers. And down here you can see one of the cauliflowers. They're starting to get a little bit of size about them, not very much, but still not much bigger than a thumbnail, but they are certainly starting to grow along. Alright, I'll finish watering these caulis, then we'll go and start setting up some Dutch buckets. Not a bad day today, it's quite warm actually. 21.3 in the barn down here. You can see things are sort of really getting a move on now. I would estimate we've probably got about another 6 weeks before it gets too hot for the caulis, and then they'll start to bolt. But in the meantime, they're coming along rather nicely, and we're actually going to get some nice sized caulis out of them, I think. Here's one down here, looking all right, and they're running all the way across. There's a nice large one. So they're looking pretty good actually, considering they were about 6 weeks late when they went in. Let's see what's down in here. That's a tiny one. Alright, so that's not looking too bad. They've just been watered. As you can see, they get watered 5 times a day at the moment because the temperature's getting up a bit. So, all things being equal, we'll actually get some cauliflowers this year, I think. There's a little guy just starting off. And one's over the back are too far away. I don't want to snap leaves off looking for them. There's a nice big one though. Pull that leaf back a bit. A winter veggies growing on the bench over here. The cauliflowers are running a little bit late, but they're putting on a bit of serious amount of growth at the moment, which is very nice to see. So they're starting to pick up. We've had some quite warm days lately, and the humidity is not too bad. They're currently getting 5 feeds a day because I'm building a new back wall there. The pump hasn't been connected, so I'm doing it manually. So that's taking a bit of time to do all that, and all the new tomatoes that I've just put in. But you can see they're starting to look pretty decent size. Nice big tall leaves on them. Those leaves will be used to cover up the flowers as they get larger so that they don't get sunburned and they don't open up, the heads stay nice and tight. There they are, looking rather healthy. These are our caulis, our winter veggie caulis that we're growing. You can see how substantially good they are at the moment. Nice and warm here today, 26.8. They're getting 5 feeds a day at the moment, and they're really picking up some growth after having been 6 weeks late when we planted them, and I was worried whether we were going to get a crop or not. But I think we're going to do all right actually. A nice sized collie coming along down in there. All the plants have got caulis in them now, some larger, some smaller, but that's probably the biggest one we've got at the moment. But you can see that they're individual plants. The leaves, how big they are now. Look at the size of that. And they're very thick. Very, very thick. So they're producing lots of sugars to produce the new crop of flowers.